Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Oireachtas. In the absence of Tom Moran, Secretary-General of the Department, who unfortunately is unable to attend this morning, it has fallen to me to address briefly the issue of putting agriculture centre stage in climate change and sustainability-related discussions. It's a hard act to follow. I think Alexandra has given such a thorough analysis from the FAO's viewpoint, and I must say I had to smile wryly at some of his comments because they really hit the same kind of buttons that we have been seeing, including the very, very slow level of progress, particularly at UN level, but nevertheless, at least it is progress. The agriculture sector, which is responsible for 10 to 12% of global greenhouse gas emissions and some 32% of the total in Ireland, has a key role to play in reducing emission levels. While it is internationally recognised that the potential for reduction is limited compared to other sectors, Ireland is nevertheless to the fore in seeking new and improved economically viable measures that can help Irish agriculture to become even more efficient. And overarching all of the debate, as you have already heard and as you are very much aware, is the reality that the world must prepare to feed a global population which is predicted to reach 9 billion by 2050. This must be done using the most sustainable forms of food production possible. And we must also be mindful of current and planned international and EU commitments around emission reduction expectations and targets. We may not like them, but they're a reality. And we must try to reach them in the short, the medium, and more importantly, the long term, beyond 2020 and going on to 2050. At the highest international level, the Department of Agriculture has actively participated in meetings and conferences of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change over the past number of years. The basis for work on climate change is Article 2, which sets out its principal objective: stabilisation of atmospheric levels of greenhouse gases, and it includes a specific reference to the fact that this must be done in a way that ensures that food production is not threatened. Food production is thus at the heart of the principal objective of global climate effort under UNFCCC. And Irish agriculture is above all about sustainable production of food. Yet, although the convention is in place since 1992, there was very little discussion on agriculture and food production at UNFCCC level until recent years, when Ireland and a small number of other interested countries raised and led the debate on these issues. In this regard, Ireland has in particular been one of the strongest supporters of a work programme on agriculture, as mentioned by Alexandre. Progress has been made, albeit slowly. In Durban in 2011, the Convention's subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice, or SUBSTA, was tasked with considering issues related to agriculture during 2012. Doha saw further discussion on agriculture, and SUBSTA is to continue this work during 2013. The department, and indeed my division, was represented at both Durban and Doha, and will continue to attend meetings related to this issue. Throughout this process, Ireland has been the main driver within the EU as regards seeking a UNFCCC decision on agriculture, and Ireland leads the EU effort to seek establishment of a work programme on agriculture. At Commission level, Ireland has also been busy raising the issue of agriculture, and in this regard, Ministers Hogan and Coveney, as well as officials of our two departments, have worked very hard and very closely together. Both ministers met with the Commissioner for Climate Change in September 2011, and both departments continued to press the issue through 2012. In October, the Commission said that they understand and acknowledge the nature and carbon efficiency of the agriculture sector in Ireland, as well as its importance on economic and social grounds. This represents a significant step forward for Irish agriculture, following a great deal of work in the past 18 months by both our departments. During 2012, the Commission also proposed a decision on land use change and forestry. The Department of Agriculture, together with the Department of the Environment, has put a huge effort into negotiating a more favourable proposal than that which was originally envisaged. Ireland, through the Department of Agriculture, currently holds the lead negotiator role for the EU on agriculture for the UNFCCC sessions. The Bonn session in June 2013, which will be during our presidency of the EU, presents an opportunity to further raise the profile of agriculture, both within and outside the EU, with the aim of advancing the discussion further, including to ministerial level at the next UNFCCC Conference of Parties, which will be in Warsaw next November. I wish to really acknowledge and thank the Department of the Environment as lead department on climate change, the Department of Foreign Affairs, Teagasc and the EPA for all of their help and assistance in this regard. Significant advances have been made as a result of a great deal of work by all concerned. There is a lot more work to do, but we are seeing some positive movement at UNFCCC and at EU levels, and I can assure you that our departments and the agencies are fully committed to continuing our work in meeting any challenges ahead. My glass is gone. This slide just contains some statistical detail regarding Irish agriculture, and you will probably be familiar with the contents, but it does set out, in case you didn't know, that 90% of agricultural land in Ireland is permanent pasture or grassland. We have 5.7 million cattle, 5.1 million sheep, 1.6 million pigs. And as regards the importance of agriculture to the Irish economy, 7.7% of GVA, 7.9% of total employment, and 10.6% of exports. No, sorry. I'm onto that slide, I beg your pardon. The work undertaken in 2012 by the Secretariat of the National Economic and Social Council towards a new national climate policy, in consultation with the various stakeholders, has been very important in helping to inform government proposals and policies. And the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine engaged in depth with NESC at expert level with a view to explaining the costs and options of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the sector, the implications of setting targets which exceed the capacity of the sector, the actions being taken to reduce emissions in the sector, the evidence that these actions are effective, and the need for deep analysis of the efficacy of proposed actions in a very complex system before policy decisions are made. In its interim report, NESC recognised the carbon and economic efficiency of Irish agriculture and our food production system. But the report also stated that Ireland needs to continue to press for the appropriate treatment of agriculture and food production at UN, EU and national levels, and for inclusion of agriculture under UNFCCC agreements. Rory O'Donnell will be speaking shortly, and I wish to thank him and his colleagues for their courtesy to us and for the deep interest which they have shown in the agriculture sector during the course of their work. Agriculture continues to be a key indigenous sector in the Irish economy, and with last week's figures showing that the annual agri-food and drink exports exceeded 9 billion for the first time during 2012, these are set to expand further with the rollout of Food Harvest 2020, with reform of the Common Agricultural Policy post-2013, the opening of new markets and the lifting of milk quota restrictions in 2015. As was said earlier, Ireland currently produces enough food to feed a human population of well over 30 million. We export up to 85% of our agricultural output. Issues of environmental sustainability are not new to Irish farmers, who for many years have been delivering carbon reductions together with other environmental benefits through cross-compliance measures and participation in schemes such as REPS, EOS, TAMS, the Bioenergy Scheme and afforestation. Food Harvest 2020 sets out the industry's vision and ambition for the Irish agriculture, fisheries and forestry sectors. It envisages significant expansion both in volume and value terms for the relevant sectors through to 2020. The Food Harvest 2020 strategy is based on three key themes of smart green growth. Smart in the sense of embracing innovation, new technologies, improving cost competitiveness. Green in the sense of clearly demonstrating and capitalising on Ireland's environmental credentials. and growth in the sense of efficient and environmentally sustainable production. The Food Harvest Implementation Committee was established by Government and is chaired by Minister Coveney, involving a range of state agencies including Teagasc, Bord Bia, Enterprise Ireland, Bord Iascaigh, FurFos and the EPA, many of whom are represented here today. This committee has a very important role in coordinating the state's response to the industry vision that is in Food Harvest 2020. The committee was conscious of the need to ensure that growth under Food Harvest 2020 is as sustainable as possible, and they decided that an objective, robust environmental analysis should be carried out on various scenarios by which the targets in Food Harvest 2020 could be met. An independent team of consultants was appointed last April, and they have delivered an interim report to the high-level committee just last autumn. And the consultants are currently working on completing their analysis and expect to present a final report to the committee in coming months. We will be engaging in stakeholder consultation in the coming weeks in this regard. In relation to Origin Green, and this will be covered by Aidan Cotter from Bord Bia in more detail later on, the Department of Agriculture sees this as a key initiative to retaining our markets as well as achieving growth in export targets in the Food Harvest 2020 strategy. The sustainability and carbon agendas are areas where Ireland can do very well by building on our natural advantages and agri-food strengths, but we need to move fast and cleverly to stay ahead. The Bord Bia Quality Assurance Scheme now includes carbon measurement thanks to the vision of Bord Bia, Teagasc, which provided the scientific basis, and producers who participated in the pilot. The carbon element has been rolled out to 500 farms every week to reach the 30,000 beef producers in the Quality Assurance Scheme. But we need more producers to join to build on this momentum and to be in a position to show evidence that sustainability is not just a niche in Irish production, but is at its very core. The Department of Agriculture has committed to the special quality assurance budget for another €4 million for the coming year. Carbon measurement and Origin Green are part of our drive to position Ireland's strengths and to provide solid evidence of Ireland's commitment to sustainability to export markets across the world, not just in Europe. Progress has been achieved over the past 20 years or so in terms of improved efficiency, steady reduction in emissions associated with food production, while maintaining overall production levels. I might try and use this. Yes, I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah. The EU's 2011, or JRC 2011 report, Greenhouse Gas Emissions from European Livestock Systems, compared production from all the major livestock commodities in Europe from a life cycle analysis perspective. It is clear that for beef and milk, Ireland is one of the most efficient producers in Europe, especially when the impacts on ecosystem carbon are considered. The JRC report also compared production in European countries to beef and lamb produced in Brazil and New Zealand, respectively. This comparison confirms Ireland's superior performance in terms of emissions per unit of product. The JRC findings supported an earlier FAO report of 2010, which compared emissions associated with milk production from various different systems around the world. That analysis shows that temperate grassland production systems are the most efficient. Both of these reports represent external international verification of Ireland's own analysis that our milk and beef production systems are among the most efficient in the world. Irish agriculture now contributes 32.1% of total greenhouse gas emissions in 2011, which is up from 26.8% in 2007, and is expected to increase to 40% relative to total national greenhouse gases by 2020. But this slide here highlights the close link between cattle numbers and emissions. And you will see that in recent years there has been a slight decoupling of the link as fertiliser efficiencies and other management practices have improved. These include grazing management and breed improvement. The forest sector plays and will continue to play an important role in relation to climate change mitigation and the development of a green economy. Sequestration of carbon dioxide through forest cover expansion and management of forests, allied to the production of wood and wood products to replace fossil fuels and energy-intensive materials, are the main contributions that the forest sector in Ireland makes to climate change mitigation. 2.5 million tonnes of carbon dioxide is taken up by our forests in growth per year, and this is expected to rise to over 4 million tonnes by 2020. The development of the forest-based biomass sector, which accounts for almost 1 million cubic metres, or 1/3 of the total harvest, has saved over 500,000 tonnes of fossil fuel-based carbon dioxide emissions in 2011, in addition to the uptake from forest growth. Moving to research, and I can honestly say that Ireland is to the forefront in research aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture. Internationally, the Department represents Ireland on the governing board of the Joint Programming Initiative on Agriculture, Food Security and Climate Change, and also the Global Research Alliance on Agricultural Greenhouse Gases. Ireland is a founder member of the Global Research Alliance, whose objective is to pool the resources of like-minded countries and enable the agriculture sector to continue to reduce emissions. The work of the Alliance is focused on 3 research groups: livestock, crops and rice. Teagasc represents Ireland on the livestock and crops research groups. The first multi-country research under the JPI FACE programme will be launched towards the end of this month, with many EU countries involved, including Ireland, who have committed €415,000. The USA, Canada and New Zealand are also participating. Nationally, the Department continues to invest heavily in research linked to sustainability. In the period 2005 to 2008, the Department made awards of more than 15 million to climate change-related projects. The main focus of Department funding is to improve our understanding of carbon stock changes in agricultural soils in order to contribute to the development of a more robust inventory and to underpin future accounting for these categories. Issues of agricultural sustainability also featured strongly in the Department's 2011 call, the results of which were announced last November. Of the €32 million allocated to research, there were projects totalling almost €3 million looking at aspects of sustainability, climate change, including projects on sustainable nitrogen use and sustainable ruminant production and life cycle analysis. Last year, Ireland became a founding member of the new United Nations FAO partnership on benchmarking and monitoring the environmental performance of livestock supply chains. Also last year, Ireland contributed €315,000 to the Global Initiative on Food Loss and Waste Reduction. Clearly, Ireland is deeply committed to research that is aimed at improving parameters of production, environment and socio-economics. It is vital that the results of this research are implemented with the help of our stakeholders in agri-food so that we can guarantee the supply of sustainable Irish agri-food into the future. Since the late 1990s, emissions from the agriculture sector have been falling slowly but steadily. At the same time, outputs from the sector have been increasing, giving rise to the low carbon intensity of Irish food. Making better use of the land by producing more food and at the same time reducing the emissions per unit of food produced is what Irish agriculture does best. Ireland has been working hard within the EU at international levels and nationally to achieve recognition for the Irish agriculture sector, and this work is showing results in recognition at EU level of the nature and carbon efficiency of Irish agriculture as well as its economic and social importance to this country. It is vital that national legislation supports this process. Regarding the ambitious targets which the industry has set in Food Harvest 2020, the aim of the Irish Government is that agriculture emissions will be contained through utilising existing best practice and further developing high-efficiency farm practices and models. Ireland must be a world leader in sustainable food production. The emissions reduction potential of the agriculture sector is limited due to the dominance of ruminant livestock. However, the Department of Agriculture recognises the key roles of continued research and the need to realise greater efficiencies at farm level. In spite of these very challenging economic times, the Department continues to support extensive research programmes at national, EU and international levels. We are putting the focus on improving the efficiency of our production even more, on better breeding, on better fertiliser use and on better grass management and utilisation. Our chief strength is our extensive grass-based food production system and its capacity to grow agriculture and food production sustainably. We need to continually assess and review how we can how we can continue to produce food even more effectively and sustainably. The Department of Agriculture will continue to support knowledge transfer to farmers so that the best new practices can be implemented. But we must all continue to work together as stakeholders in the Irish agri-food sector. Working together, we can ensure that Ireland is recognised as a global leader in producing high-quality, high-value foods that are produced sustainably and can contribute significantly to ensuring that the security of food supply is assured. Thank you.